Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I gotta say, it is a sad day. I filmed this review once already, and I did a full unboxing. You got to hear all my impressions of the packaging, and the packaging is beautiful. Now, as you can see, it's a pile of packaging on my floor. The packaging is so nice. I filmed an entire review, and then my camera was just like, nope, I'm done filming, and the video just stopped. For no reason. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tragedy has struck. I filmed an entire review on this guy, and I filmed the unboxing. It was like out of the package, out of the original box. We pulled everything out together. It was like 30 minutes long, and then as I was concluding my thoughts, my camera was like, nope, I'm done, and it just stopped. And I have no idea why. I think maybe it was a memory issue. I'm not sure. So I cleared all the videos out. We're going to still review him again. As you can see, he's like partially set up. I went over the packaging, and now it's just on the floor, and I'm so sad. I'm so sad you guys won't get to experience that video. But real quick, I got to say, this is the height. I'm just going to throw it out here real quick. This is the height of the whole package. Like, it stands above, you can see some of my dies over there. It stands above my light box. And it's probably like over 2 times the size of the figure. And it also, let that sit there. It also even comes with this print of like, it looks like a sketch of what the art of the collector's box is. I mean, the package is nice. Everything is encased in a soft foam to keep everything as pristine as possible. Like, oh, beautiful, 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 beautiful. I'm going to structure this review exactly how I filmed it the first time. So with that, I'm going to move Snake Eyes out of the way. I'm going to remove the actual figure accessories out of the way, and we're going to look at what makes this an exclusive, which is his extra bunch of weapons, which is now in a pile, and his cool weapons display stand. So, out of the box, out of the foam, it comes displayed like this. We got 2 Timberwolves on the side, very, very Snake Eyes appropriate. And we have these 2, this artwork of almost like 2 Oni demon-esque things on clouds. I don't know what it means, if it's meaningful in any way. I wish that they did some kind of paint apps with it. I would have loved if this was done in a blue and then these were in a white. And, we got some reds in there. So, some very traditional-esque Japanese art. But it's fine. Hasbro didn't have to do this. They could have just stamped a Toy Fair exclusive on this dude's packaging and shipped him off with a sticker. And we would have been happy. But, they went out of their way to really, really make this special. And so they gave us this, and I appreciate that. I think that really shows the love that Hasbro is going to be giving to this G.I. Joe line, and I'll talk more about that when we look at the actual stock figure itself. But that's what we get on this side. We flip it around. It's the weapons rack. Once again, I would have liked some paint detail. This plain tan, it serves its function. If it's supposed to be wood, I wish it was painted a little bit more like wood. If it's supposed to be artsy, I wish it was a little bit more artsy. We have some Japanese symbols engraved on the pieces, and as you can see, the right side is all the same. All the right side of every single one of these panels is the same, and the left side of everyone is the same. I don't know what they mean. Who knows? We got the Timberwolves. By the way, I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm talking through earphones this time instead of using my normal phone. By the way, I film on my phone. So if the quality seems weird, if ever, it's because I film on my phone. I'm a college student, dude. Don't at me about it. But, where was I? Very solid construction. This thing doesn't feel hollow. It feels like it is solid plastic all the way through. And I think that's cool. It has some really good heft and weight to it. And I appreciate that. A lot of these types of things feel hollow on the inside and feel really, really empty. And it's unfortunate, even the bottom is, covered and solid. It's great. It's a great, great display piece, and I love it. Coming to the weapons now. I'm going to point this out because I'm going to make a point of it later. These weapons that have been held in foam are not warped, are not bent. They are ruler straight, and it's awesome. And that's an issue I have with clamshells. Clamshells have a tendency to warp plastic because they come straight out of the factory and get boxed up, and so they're soft and they warp to the pressure of the clamshell. Not so in the case of these guys. These are straight. They were put in foam. A lot of tender love and care. Anyways, we'll get to what these, all the weapons actually are. I don't know in what order they're supposed to be posed on here, and maybe I'll pose it for this video because this is the second round. We get to do it better this time. He comes with this double-ended, double-bladed spear, double-pointed spear. It's very nice. I've heard some other people say this as a little bit of a gripe. There's no paint apps. I wish there were. As a customizer, I wish there were. I always appreciate more detail in any of my figures, but I get it. Once we get into Snake Eyes, we're going to see the level of detail they put in, and I think to a degree, a level of R&D into Snake Eyes, and so I get it. You know, they were making an exclusive, and they had to make a figure that was more detailed to market to the wide public, because the Snake Eyes figure is going to show up in the official wave. This stuff here is the Toy Fair exclusive. The figure itself is not. So I get it. You know, they had to cut somewhere, and so if they're going to cut anywhere, sadly, it's the collector's edition. But yeah, so we get no paint apps on the stand either. But we still got it. They still made the molds. I appreciate it a ton. So we'll just put the spear... Oh. Put the spear right there. That looks good. Next thing we come to is we have this long sword. The plastic overall, oh, maybe there's a little bit of warping in that one. Just a tad. Or maybe it's the lighting. Can't tell. But yeah, we have a much longer handle on this sword. Nicely detailed. You can see the wrap that goes through it. We have a little bit of a serrated edge there that you can see, which is cool. The blade curves, which is nice. It's meant to curve. That's not warping. My guess is from the longer handle, it's a two-handed sword. That's my guess. I don't know what else it's for, but since it's a longer sword, we'll put it there. Yeah, once again, paint apps, but it's okay. Now we have a shorter sword. As you can see, a shorter handle. This one also has a wrap, but it's a much tighter one. It really just feels like grooves in it, which looks cool. This sword is straight. You know, nice detailing. I appreciate it. Looks good. I would probably, honestly, pose Snake Eyes with this sword more. I think it looks a lot sleeker, and I like it. And we'll just drop that down there. All right, now we get to his weapon doubles. We'll start with the size. He comes with two size. Automatically, one thing I've noticed about all these weapons is their plastic is a lot thicker. Marvel Legends, I think a reason why a lot of their weapons warp is the plastic is thin. As you can see with these size, it is thick plastic all the way around. It is a thick tube of plastic. It narrows out a tad from the base to the end so that there's still somewhat of a point, but the point is pretty bald over. You know, it's nothing too sharp. Nothing sharp at all, really. So yeah, it's good. Honestly, this feels a little bit too thick for a sai. Like, overall, the size here. Let's get an axe. This is the axe, you know, probably a throwing axe. The sai is longer, and if we look at the axe blade, the sai also is, we'll do it this way so you can see the blade. It's thicker too. The sai feels a little bit oversized for my taste. I don't know how big they're supposed to be because I've never handled one in real life, but I have handled throwing axes, and throwing axes, you know, especially something like this. You know, he comes with two of them, so I would assume, you know, he's dual wielding them, which means they, you know, proportionally should sit on the smaller side, and in comparison to the figure, you know, they're not too big, but they're definitely not too small either. They're sizable. So when you have a sai that's a lot bigger, and sais are supposed to be fast weapons, the fact that it's larger and thicker overall seems odd. So that's a thing. So yeah, interesting proportions. We'll just drop those over. Oop. Whatever. We're going to stop putting these on there. You get the idea. We're not gonna put them all in the stand. And finally, we come to these little psi-esque type things. Fun little thing is they look like, you know, they weren't a hinge. So in real life, maybe they fold in or something. I don't know, but very cool. Once again, Hasbro, I applaud you for the effort. I really, really appreciate you making a Toy Fair exclusive something special for us. Coming to the figure itself, obviously, since I lost the other video, I can't review it full out of box, but we'll take what we can get. We have the Snake Eyes figure, and instead of looking at accessories, we're going to look at his articulation first. And maybe I won't oogle and ogle over it as much as I did the first time, but let's get into it. I'm still very impressed by this guy. He definitely has a ton more articulation than any Marvel Legends. You can tell Hasbro put a lot of time and effort in. And while he's not a perfect figure, he is steps and steps above other figures, you know, pretty much any other figure from Hasbro, I think, in my opinion. So starting off, the head is on a hinge that goes up and down. He gets really, really good downward movement, and he gets some pretty good upward movement too. And now here's where it's cool. He has, as you can see, I'm holding the base of the neck. He has a secondary ball joint on there, so he gets some rotation, and you get that forward and backwards too, and so that gives him extra up. And you can see you can lean the neck forward, and then also put him down, so he gets extra down as well, and that's great. And obviously the head moves side to side. People spin it around. I think it's weird. Who cares? You know it can do it. There's nothing getting in the way. He can spin his head. He can look fine. Coming down to the torso, he's got butterfly joints, and from looking at other promo pictures of the G.I. Joe wave, it seems like at least all the Guy figures, so like Duke and Destro just got announced today, and he definitely has the butterfly joints. I can see it just in the shadowing of the picture. Sadly, Snake Eyes, comfortably. And I say comfortably because I'm not trying to damage this figure in any way. I am trying to play with it to what the articulation allows, and I'm not going to force anything because I don't want to damage anything. That's about all the butterfly joint does, and arguably it doesn't even hold the position. It kind of comes back, which is, I appreciate them adding it in there, you know? I'm glad that they have it. I wish it did more, but it's still good. Coming to the shoulders, you can rotate all the way around, standard. His arms, once again, comfortably, come out to right about there, so it's a little bit past 45, I would say, which isn't bad. I don't want to damage all this gloss, and I'll get into the paint apps, which I think are, you know, once again, leagues above Marvel Legends. Some issues, but overall pretty good. Not pretty good, you know, exceptionally good for what we normally get from Hasbro. Double jointed elbow, and then the hands rotate all the way around because they're just on a peg. And then here's what I'm really impressed about, and I'll do a comparison right now because since I've filmed this video once, I have a little bit more of an idea of what I want to do for comparisons. This hand, it's a trigger finger. He comes in the box standard with both trigger fingers on. He has the up and down bend, which is great because if he's trying to hold a pistol and he's aiming downwards or is tucking in and bringing it up closer to him, he needs to be able to bend his hand down. Most Marvel Legends figures have that joint that just, you know, hinges up and down. In this case, they get the one that hinges side to side, which I appreciate because it makes sense for the function. And I think that starts off to where I go, Hasbro put thought into this figure. Obviously, they increase the articulation, and we'll see more of that as we keep moving down. But they thought, you know, if he's going to use a gun, how's he going to hold it? How is he going to pose with it? And I appreciate them putting that effort in. It shows some thought on their part. Detail-wise, he's got little knuckles painted in brown, which seems like not a hard surface, but that's okay. Obviously, the articulation is the same for the right arm, so no need to go into it. Coming down to the torso, he has an ab crunch that gives a lot of crunch, really good crunch. Gets a lot of back bend too, and he can do the limbo with it. It's great. He has secondary lower ab, I guess, articulation. Where the waist hinge normally is, where they just swivel back and forth, he is on a ball joint now, which means he can get an extra, this is him straight, he can get an extra step forward. He goes back a tad, not much, but he definitely, standard, stand him up straight, standard, he goes back. So he gets some back there. Obviously, since it's a ball joint, you get the lean, so he can rotate his hips all the way around. That's cool. This is the first time we've seen it, I believe, to my understanding. We've seen it in a Hasbro figure, unless the Power Rangers Legacy ones have it. I'm not into Power Rangers, so I don't know. But maybe they have it, but this is the first time I've seen it from Hasbro personally, which is awesome. Once again, they're putting effort into this figure. And I think this is going to be a similar articulation to what we're going to see from the Classics Marvel Legends Spider-Man that's got announced at Toy Fair also, which I assume is coming out later this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. So we're also going to get that type of ball-jointed lower hip articulation in there. Coming down to the crotch section, midsection, something, we have some very cool new articulation in the legs. Obviously, he has the forward and out, but now here's the cool part. I'm going to lift the belt up so you can see it. He has a joint in there that hinges up and down, separate from the ball joint. So there's a ball joint in the hip, and then there's a beam that connects into a hinge that's on the inside of this waist crotch area that allows it to do this. And at first people are like, what, we're just going to make Snake Eyes taller? But what that does is that gives more clearance up here, and that's what it's all about. So if I'm trying to move the leg upward, forward here, I'm going to get stuck. And once again, I talk about comfortably. Comfortably, it stops about here. Now, if I move the leg down, open up that gap, comfortably, he moves up a little bit under 90. If I kind of like tilt the leg out at an angle more, he gets practically a full 90 degrees out, which is what's cool about the figure. They added this so that he can be more flexible and posing. He's a ninja, he needs it. I'd be interested to see the rest of the G.I. Joe wave and see if they continue with this type of articulation, but this is the first one we got, so that's what we're looking at. The legs, double jointed knees, you know, what's expected. We have a hinge at the boot, or not a hinge, a swivel, I guess. It's on a peg. At the boot, it rotates all the way around. We have ankle pivot, and then we also have it on a forward-backwards hinge. All standard stuff. It's pretty much standard Marvel Legends, normal classic figure stuff, what you'd expect. So that's really cool. Talking about the details of this figure, super, super detailed. You can see his chest strap, not even the belt itself, not even like the belt that comes across the chest, but there's texturing inside that gray, which is awesome. We have silver, we have some stuff picked out in silver. I noticed that there's just a little tiny black scuff mark right there, which is very tiny and practically ignorable, but I saw it. I'm a customizer, I see these things. It's all about the details. I wish that they put the, there's something metallic. It's not as bright as the silver on this end, but there's definitely some difference in there. They tried, did something. Looks more like a gunmetal than a silver, which is odd. But hey, you know, they got paint details in there. They picked out the silver. I appreciate that. And the big thing I wanted to point out is I love that they highlighted between the hard and soft textures on this figure. And what I mean by hard and soft textures is we have a flat gray for his undersuit, and then we come to his armor on the shoulders, on the chest, on the forearms. Oh, yeah, and even the upper arms and the elbow pad. I didn't notice that before. Gloss black. They don't let the sculpt speak for itself. They use the paint to differentiate between the different areas of figure, and that's something we don't always get to see or appreciate with Marvel Legends. So I love that they did it with G.I. Joe, and hopefully this is the standard of quality we can come to expect. Detail-wise, on this little chest strap thing, I wish that the grenades were not done in black, but they were done in green. I'm not sure if black grenades are a Snake Eyes thing. I'm not a huge G.I. Joe fan, but I had a couple as a kid growing up, so there's a little bit of, there's some nostalgia, probably not, you know, I never grew up with like the 80s cartoon or whatever, so definitely not as much as some of you older collectors. I'm a college student, so, you know, my time frame is different. But yeah, I wish the grenades were done in green, probably a little bit more realistic, and they definitely could have been painted green because these were painted black, so they're not separate like black cast molds. As you can see, that little handle there for the grenade, you know, the pin pops out and you pop the handle up and toss the grenade. It's gray, it's not black, and that's a tiny QC issue paint-wise. So obviously these grenades are part of the whole mold, and these grenades were painted black. So in my mind, they could have painted them green, but hey, I guess they didn't want to pay for extra paints. So they went, we already have black paint, we'll paint it black. It's fine. Yeah, some of these pouches and things, they, you know, wish they could have got a little bit more detail, but it's good. They picked out what they had. We got gunmetal on the knees, we got brown here. It's already picked out in silver and red. It's more paint detail than what we get on a Marvel Legends, so I dig it. I'm going to I'll pull the pistol, the suppressor, and the knife out for the accessories section that we're going to get into right now. So that's my overview and impressions of the Snake Eyes figure. I dig it. I really, really dig it. Once again, I applaud Hasbro for the effort they put in. You can really see that they, you know, gave this character the love it deserves. He deserves, Snake Eyes deserves. Put the figure off to the side. We'll look at the remaining accessories. We're going to start with the hands. Like I said, I filmed this review before, so we're going to kind of go back to my initial reaction. I was surprised. These hand pegs are really, really long, which is surprising. They're also much thinner, and I assume... I don't know why they chose to make them thinner versus Marvel Legends. I know that some parts piecing and sourcing, maybe not sourcing, but definitely piecing, has to do per license, and so maybe there's a different, you know, there's some difference between the Marvel license, which, you know, Hasbro, you know, G.I. Joe, I think, belongs to Hasbro, while Marvel obviously does not belong to Hasbro, so maybe they had to switch up the pieces and the type of peg because of that. Who knows? But yeah, much thinner peg, which is why I assume they made it longer so that the tension on the peg is not as much when you're pulling it in and out. I dig it. I appreciate that the grooves are a little bit more subtle, because some interchangeable Marvel Legends figures still have some pretty like wide grooves, which makes me always nervous to snap the peg on the inside of the hand. This left hand here, this interchangeable left hand, comes with a ninja star, throwing star, kunai. No, not kunai. Kunai's a throwing knife. Sorry. But yeah, you get throwing star. QC little thing. You can see that this blade bends down a little bit. That's, you know, that's just microwaving it and straightening it up so that's straight with the other two. But, you know, little things like that. Once again, the accessories for this part of Snake Eyes were kept in a clamshell, and so some plastic like this gets warped in the clamshell. And you'll see that with some of the other accessories that came in the standard box compared to the ones that were in the foam. But yeah, so that's that hand. Interesting observation for this hand. It's sort of like looks like a karate chopping hand to start, but I noticed that this hand didn't have the brown knuckles that the other ones have, and I realized then that there's this little grooved thing in here that is strapped to his hand. I don't know what it is. If anyone can tell me, that would be awesome. I don't know if it's like a climbing thing, or yeah, I don't know the function, but it's cool. Looks like it's curved a little bit. Maybe it's hooks, but yeah. So we got that with that interchangeable hand of the right hand, which I guess makes this even nicer because they didn't have to do any paint apps for this at all. It was just casted black and maybe inject molded black, and then they're just like, awesome, it's good to go. We don't even have to care about the paint. But yeah, those are the hands. Coming around to the accessories, the first thing we have is the sword and the sheath. And talking about the warping, as you can see, the sheath is slightly warped. This edge here bends out a little bit. And I gotta say though, as frustrating as that can be, I don't like warping. I like things like ruler, you know, to the millimeter straight. But this sheath is very, very firm. Like, it has a little bit of bend, but not much. The plastic is very hard. It's rigid. I appreciate that. It feels like it has more structure and more quality to it. We have more leather texture. We have more red paint for his... I don't know how to say the name, so I'm not going to try to butcher it. I'm not going to insult someone. But yeah, which I like. Definitely some quality in it. Marvel Legends sheaths tend to be a soft plastic. This is definitely a harder plastic, which I like. Coming to the sword, once again, no paint apps on any of the accessories as far as weapons side. This is more of his classic sword. I'm surprised the symbol was not painted on the sword, as I know previous versions of Snake Eyes, including like the 3 3/4 inch movie version, even had the symbol painted on there. So seems like a Not even lack of attention, maybe it is, but at least it's molded in there. We have some serrations along the sword there. The handle has some nice, almost wood-like grooves running through it, which is a nice detail. And that's the sword. Also some warping there. As you can see, it arcs down just a tad. Arcs down. So yeah, once again, out of the clamshell. That's a thing. We come to his backpack. The cool part is you can put the backpack, you can obviously peg it into the back, but there's also a port here for the sword. And I'm sure if you guys have seen this, maybe you've seen other reviews, so you know about that. But the nice part, also coming back to where it ports in, is the back of his belt has a peg hole, and the back has a peg hole. So kind of like the Mandalorian, if you have that figure, it's similar. You can slide the peg through both, so that one holds the belt in place, so the belt's not flapping or getting in the way of anything. And then it also secures the sword into the back. So that double, that double utility, I appreciate it. It's nice. So we got that going for it. And that's the backpack for you. Coming to the guns, we have his SMG. I don't know what kind of SMG it is, but very, very nice detail. There's a lot of detail in here. Marvel Legends guns sometimes have a tendency to skip out, but I mean, they really have all the little nuts and bolts and grooves on this SMG, and I dig it. The barrel that comes out is obviously longer, slightly longer than what a normal gun is, and we can see the same thing on the pistol, and that is for the sake of the suppressor. He comes with one suppressor, and he comes with storage for the suppressor, which is nice. Comes with one suppressor, and that's why the barrels on both are extended out, which for realism's sake makes no sense, but for accessory's sake is pretty nice, and I appreciate that. So that's the SMG. Coming to the pistol, I like the detail in the pistol. Some things right off the top. He has a little bit of a rail at the bottom, so he could probably, he could definitely attach some kind of laser to the bottom of it, help with his accuracy. And then we also have an extended magazine on the bottom of the pistol, so he gets, probably like a couple extra rounds. Who knows if it's double stacked or not. And then we have a suppressor, which, just fits onto the nub. And something I pointed out in my original review that I love is that there's no, that since it balls up a little bit at the tip there, it has good grip on the suppressor, but it doesn't feel dangerously grippy. And what I mean by dangerously grippy is when you have something of this small peg size, if the connection is too tight, I'm afraid that as I pull it off, I'm going to pull this little piece with it, but not in this case. It's very smooth. There's just a little bit of resistance when you pop it off, but nothing crazy, which I really, really like. And I got to compliment it, and we'll see it more later. I'm going to put the pistol down so you can see it with the SMG. SMG is the same thing, longer barrel for the suppressor. But yeah, very, very nice holds on it. I'm not afraid of damaging these guns, really, as I do it. Obviously, don't be too aggressive with it, because the plastic is still thin. But I'm not worried. It doesn't raise any red flags as I'm putting it on or taking it off, which is nice. I gotta say, though, that the suppressor out of the box is warped. You can see it here. If I put it on the SMG or the pistol, I did it on both, but as I rotate it around, you can see that it kind of goes up and down like that. And so I think that there's an issue with the hole that's been drilled in to the suppressor itself. I think maybe it's at a wrong angle, because looking at it, the suppressor seems pretty straight. It might be slightly warped. So either there's a bend in the suppressor or the peg hole on the suppressor is filled out badly. But either way, I appreciate the feature. And so for the last and final accessory, we have his knife. Once again, knife is out of a little bit of a thicker plastic than what we see with some others. The handle is curved, which is cool. We got good details in there, the little bolts, and we have a serrated edge with the knife. So the last thing we're going to do, we're going to go into weapon storage. He has a sheath for his knife here. The knife fits in backwards like so, which makes sense because if he was to pull it out forwards, so he would grab it like so, he would hold it out forwards and pull it out like that, and then it would face up in his hand. So makes sense. I appreciate the thought to that. I've noticed that some Marvel Legends, the orientation of some of their gun or knife holding doesn't really make the most logical sense. So I appreciate, once again, there's some thought that got put into it. The holster side, first of all, I got to compliment the holster in that The pistol slides in nicely. It doesn't slide in too easily to where it feels loose. You can see there it kind of pops out when I push on it, which means that there's some resistance on it. But obviously I'm not struggling either, so it has a very, very nice fit. I can turn the figure upside down and shake him. He has a little bit of wiggle in there. And that was also out of the box too. That's just the way he is. It's a little bit of wiggle, but that's fine. But yeah, pistol's not going to fall out. Likewise with the suppressor. They added a loop for suppressor storage, which I think is a very, very cool feature. And once again, I appreciate Hasbro for this attention of detail. You just slide the suppressor in there. Once again, it's got some grip to it, but it's not so great that I can't get it out. Your suppressor shouldn't be getting stuck inside this loop. And that's partially due to both the soft plastic nature of the holsters, but that are still fit tightly, and also the semi-soft plastic nature of the accessories themselves. They're not super soft, but they're just flexible enough to where they're not going to become a nuisance under the pressure. There's some give to them. And I think, maybe that's also complement to the unpainted nature of all these weapons. You don't have to worry about them scraping. So also, sword fits into the sheath, and it feels like there are some grooves that click in, and I'm not sure if there are grooves on the inside of the sheath or it's the grooves on the end of the sword here. But because of it, they fit in nicely to where they're not going to fall out. Marvel Legends sometimes feel loose inside the sheath. They don't fit well. Not so with this one. It feels very, very nice. And then we can just put the sword in there on his back. So, honestly, great figure. There are tiny paint apps, obviously, that I pointed out. Just a couple. There's some with the brown here. The brown doesn't run all the way to the end of the arm, but it's honestly, for this and all the extra articulation and all the extra little features and details, in the joints in the hand, in the extra storage, and how nice the storage fits, I'm willing to forgive it. It's ignorable. This is a factory-made figure, and as a factory-made figure, it stands far out and above what I would be expecting from Hasbro, in terms of paint, in terms of articulation, in terms of accessories. And so I applaud Hasbro. I hope that the same level of attention and quality is not only just for this Snake Eyes figure as Toy Fair exclusives, but, we'll see it in the general line as well. But yeah, that's all I have to say on this. I enjoy it. This was money well spent. I'm very happy and very fortunate to have gotten the pre-order. I'm pretty sure it filled out fast. I don't know how I got mine. I heard some people complaining that the website went down or that they weren't able to get their orders in. So very happy to, be an owner of one. He's a worthwhile figure. I appreciate the extra accessories. I definitely need to make a space for him on my shelf. I don't know where that's going to be yet. I have a very, very small shelf of figures. I don't keep a lot for myself, but I'm going to have to make room for this guy because he holds a special place. So that's my review. Thank you all for watching. Sorry that you guys didn't get to see the full unboxing. Saved that. But yeah. Okay. Take care, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and have a great day.